Okay, so we're going to set you up on MyFitnessPal and we're going to set you up for success. So I have my screen recording of my phone and we're going to walk through and set up all the right settings so you feel super confident with tracking your food. So first thing is you need to work out what your calories are, whether you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight or a calorie surplus to put on weight, or if you just want to eat at maintenance. It's important to use a calculator, and it doesn't matter what one you use, but for the sake of it, I'm going to be using my one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on and we're going to calculate our macros. So the cool thing about this app is it will break everything down for you, and then I'll go step by step on how to set it up. So we'll fill out some details. Female, I'm 33, metric, my weight is 58, my height is 168. I like to set my activity level at sedentary, just purely because there are going to be some days where you're literally not moving, not doing anything, maybe laying in bed watching Netflix and just pushing the next button. So it doesn't matter how active you are, I like to just set it as a ballpark figure as sedentary. Scroll down, enter your details. My goal, if my goal is fat loss, I'm going to opt for that, which is going to put me in a calorie deficit. We'll click agree. We'll calculate. Now we have our TDEE, and what that is, it's your total daily energy expenditure, and that's just to do functional things, to literally function in society without doing too much, right? So I need 1,631 calories for me to just stay as is. Now, if I ate under that, whether it's 50 calories or 150 or 200 calories, I would be losing weight, right? And if I ate above that, I mean, this is just a general ballpark figure, but if I ate above that, I would be putting on weight. So scroll down. I always look for something that's a higher protein intake, which will ensure that we're having protein in each of our meals, and also base our food around eating protein first and then filling it with whatever foods we enjoy. Personally, for me, I'd opt for the higher fat option. That's just personal preference. So if you tend to sway towards eating a lot more carbs, whether it's bread, pasta, or rices, maybe you could go the higher carb option, but I always like to have my protein as high as possible. Now with these stats, we've got to put them into MyFitnessPal. So hopefully you've downloaded MyFitnessPal and you're probably wondering how to get that into MyFitnessPal. Let's do it. Okay, so now that we've got our stats, we're going to open MyFitnessPal, fill out the details, and then you'll be prompted to fill out some details. I don't like what MyFitnessPal give, and I've actually set it up so you'll see what MyFitnessPal will give with the split. I don't love it, but we'll work it out. So down in the bottom right corner, we're going to click more. We're going to scroll all the way down, and then in settings, we're going to go diary settings. These are just the first things I like to change. We're going to go customize meal names, and you're going to change your breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, if that's what it says on your screen, to meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't eat breakfast, but usually on this app, when it says breakfast, it doesn't matter what time you start eating your first meal. Once that's done, we'll click tick and go back. Another thing I like to do is on diary sharing, I like to make that public, because if you are using the KCPT app, they both sync up together. As long as you're using the same email address, they should work completely fine. So we'll click tick. Now, if you do have the premium option, you do have the option in customized nutrient dashboard to be macronutrient focused. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have premium. I personally do, because I've had MyFitnessPal forever. But if you did have calorie focus, don't stress. It's a simple extra one button to push to get to that same one. But if you do have the premium, definitely go for the macro focus. Once that's done, I turn my water off and I just put multi-add on by default. That's just me. You keep it however you like. We're going to click back. Make sure in your profile that in the units we have the metric that we're used to. So for us in Australia, that is calories. It's also centimeters, kilograms, blah, blah, you get the drill. So once that's done, we'll go back again, and then we're going to scroll up. We're going to do one thing before we play with our goals. We're going to turn our steps off, because MyFitnessPal will be like, hey, Kate, you've burnt 600 calories in your workout today. Here's 600 more. Now, if my goal is weight loss, I need to be in a calorie deficit. I don't want to eat those calories back. So by default, I just turn them off. I still track on my smartwatch, but I keep MyFitnessPal separate to that. So once that's done, we'll go back. And now we're up to the juicy part. Click onto goals, and we're going to click onto the nutrition goals, which is calorie, carb, fat, protein goals. Now, by default, if you haven't had this app before, MyFitnessPal usually give us 50% carbs, 20% protein, and 30% fat, which I don't love. And given what we had before with our numbers, we got to try and link those up. So if you did have the premium option, you would be able to set your macro split first and then your calories, but I'm just going off the generic one. If you didn't have premium, you'd have to set your macros up first. So once we've gone back onto the macro app, what we're going to do is actually get the data from what we want for muscle building calories. Now, I'm going to treat it as if we're a beginner. We're going to go to beginner calories, which is 1,806 calories. If I lift in the gym and I'm moving, which remember our TDEE was around 1,600, it's giving us an extra 200. So if we dance between those calories for a couple of weeks, we'll see how our body responds. So we'll add these calories into MyFitnessPal, and hopefully we'll get as close as we can to our higher fat macro, because that's the preference I've gone for. So 1,806 calories. Awesome. So now we have to get those macros as close as we can. So click the tick. So back in our macro calculator, our goal is 135 protein, 135 carbs, and 80 grams of fat. So we're going to try and put that into here. So we'll just dance around with the macros, which I reckon is around, maybe it's a 30, 40%. Exactly that. That's called a zone split. That's not cutting out any macronutrient where you feel like you're deprived. Like keto obviously cuts out carbohydrates. Vegans are very high carb, very low protein. And then you've got carnivore, which is incredibly high fat and protein, of course. So we'll set that up for now. Once we click tick, that should save. So it'll change all the macros around. Now we're set up and ready to go. So we'll click back. We'll click back again. Once we've gone back, we're going to click dashboard, and you should see this on your screen. I've already put some foods into my database, but what we're going to do is, if you do have the premium option, you can set that as your main focus, which I like to see. If you have this one, for instance, all you do is just click the screen. I'm going to change our macros to nutrients and then change our week view to day view. Given that the foods I've already put in, we've got 75 grams of protein, 79 grams of carbs, and 66 grams of fat that I've consumed or put into my diary. And on the far right of the screen, we've got what's left. So our goal is to hit 60 more grams of protein throughout the day, 56 grams of carbs, and then 14 grams of fat. So what I would do is look at my little ebook, my Macros Made Simple ebook, and look at the foods. So if I need to eat protein, I need 60 grams, maybe that's 2 more meals of a decent serving of chicken. You just play around with that. One thing I will note though, guys, is ensure that you add your food as grams. So let's talk about that. Let's go back, we'll go diary, and then in the diary, what we're going to do is add the foods that we want, ensuring that we're using the gram option. As an example, I'm going to put chicken breast in because I feel like a lot of us eat chicken. So I'm going to assume you have food scales. Whether you want that cooked or raw, whatever it is, you need to search it as that. I like to look up chicken cooked because I batch cook, which means I'll put 10 breasts in an oven and I'll cook it up, and then I'll weigh it out each one and then put them in Tupperware tubs, therefore making it easier to meal prep. So we're going to go to meal. We're going to look up chicken. Now I probably have this because I eat it a fair bit. I would go chicken breast lean grilled, and I always look up the nut tab one. I feel like that's the one that I've used forever and I feel like it's very accurate. So in here, this is where it gets exciting. We look at serving size and we look at the number of servings. Now, by default, we want to always look at 100 gram or 1 gram servings. So as an example, if we were to have a cup of blueberries, you might have a cup and just trickle some blueberries in, and that's it. For me, I would fit as many blueberries as I physically could into that cup. So you might have 80 grams and I might have 120 grams of blueberries. So I'll explain what that means. In the serving size, firstly, it might say fractions. Just change it to decimals and you'll never have to change that again. So when we put our chicken breast on a plate and then we tear it on top of the scales and you take it out and you put it on there and it says 142 grams. You can either do one of two options. One, if it's the 1 gram option, you had 142 servings of the 1 gram option, or in the 100 gram, you had 1.42 servings of the 100 grams of chicken, giving us 42 grams of protein, 3.5 fat, and no carbs, which is pretty accurate considering MyFitnessPal have 15 million foods on the database. So my tip for you is just scroll through and see what's kind of the average for 100 grams. Now, if you did have the barcode scanner, fantastic. Most of the time it is pretty accurate. You just need to change the serving size. If you had a bag of chips or whatever and you really wanted some and you're like, how do I track this? If you had the macros to play with, what you could do is put the chips on the scales, take out a handful and then just weigh them. You might have 28 grams of chips. That would be a generic serving size, but I'm not saying have that. I'm just saying if you had the carbohydrates left over. So we'll click tick. That's just a basic food intake. And what we're going to do here, up the top where it says nutrients remaining, for if you don't have premium, it will say calories remaining and it might have exercise on there as well. So just literally touch the top of the screen, make sure it's on nutrients, and I've set that into tomorrow's. I've already entered something else in there earlier, but let's just go with the chicken. We've got 49 grams of protein already hit, and that's just one meal. So it's going to be pretty easy for us to hit the goal of 135 protein. Now, over a week span, we're going to go macros and change that to week view. We're going to get a little graph like this. Now, given that tomorrow's food is only one thing, it's thinking we're only having that chicken breast. If you touch the screen and it says 1,339 calories, what that's saying is for the average week, what we're having is around 1,300 calories. Remember, our goal was to eat under that 1,600 to be in that calorie deficit. Now I'm in a deficit of 300 calories for the week, which would prompt me to lose weight, which is exactly what we're after. Well, me for this example is what we're after. So there are days where you go really high. There's going to be days when you go really low. What we want is the week consistency. So over time, you'll start getting graphs that look pretty good. So up and down, up and down. I've really centered on the food. After a while, you'll get a nice little streak. I'm on 2,000 days in a row. Back in the day, I used to do fasting and I didn't track, but I wish I did even just put water in there because it would keep the streak. I've had this app since 2012. Anyway, the last thing I want you guys to do is just make sure that you're tracking everything as diligently as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent so we can see what you're having. I want you to click progress. And what you can look at is you can set your progress to your weights. Now, I track every single day. I think it's important to track. Now, we don't want to put our weight into the goals part where it says starting weight. What we want to do is go back, make sure we're on the dashboard. We'll scroll down to where it says weights. And I just simply just push the plus and then I enter the weight of what I am. So today I'm 58 kilos. We'll click tick and we'll update that. And then that's my weight done for the day. Because you'll have this app for a long time, it's really cool to see how you progress. Now, weight loss, if your goal is weight loss, is not linear. As you can see by mine, we've literally gone up and down, even in the year. Look at that, up and down. So don't put pressure on yourself, just enjoy the process, okay? Hopefully that tutorial helps. It's super easy to do it. You just need to find consistency in doing it. So if that means laying in bed at night, planning out tomorrow's food, do that. If you have foods, you can add them as a recipe or save them as a meal and just duplicate them the next day. I hope this video helped and I'm really excited to see how you progress through your MyFitnessPal journey.